Hello, my name is Alex McCook. I am the Claims Manager in the Offshore Syndicate of the Shipowners Club. We edit the textbook for Module 7 of the P&IQ, as well as overseeing the questions and answers related to that part of the course. What is Module 7 all about? Module 7 deals with some elements of P&I which could be described as providing assistance. There are 4 elements: the towage of vessels which require assistance, salvage of vessels in distress, the application of general average when it's necessary to make a sacrifice for the common good, and the wreck removal of vessels which have reached the end of their life through some casualty. In the towage section, we begin with the practical aspects of towing, such as the types of tug you will encounter, their towing gear, and the things which can go wrong during a towage operation. We then look at how tugs are generally contracted, and what sort of legal implications typically flow from towage works. Finally, we'll look at where P&I fits in and how club cover in this tricky area operates, both from the point of view of a vessel towing and one being towed. In the salvage section, we'll consider what is deemed salvage and the principles which govern such work at law, with reference to the Salvage Convention, LOF and SCOPIC, as well as common law, and again, all the time with an eye to where insurers fit into this picture. Similarly, with general average, we start with a back to basics guide, looking at how GA is defined and implemented into contracts, what the York Antwerp rules are, and how the version applicable can be imported. Some people might feel that GA is not primarily a P&I issue, but there are important ways in which clubs can be involved in such claims, and even though they may, for some, arise relatively rarely in practice, it's useful to look at them in some detail, which we do in the course. Finally, and perhaps fittingly to conclude the course, we will look at what can happen if a vessel becomes a wreck. Catastrophic claims such as this are thankfully rare, but they are some of the most expensive that IG clubs deal with, so it is perhaps unsurprising that this section is the longest in the book at around 35 pages. We've set out the text here in 2 parts to demonstrate both the principles and law, including the Nairobi Wreck Removal Convention, government powers and cover issues, and then to apply these in practice with typical claim scenarios based on real-life situations. How much learning material will be provided? Module 7 is one of the shorter modules overall. You'll notice that the textbook is relatively thin compared to some. The PDF is about 150 pages, but if you discount the appendices, index pages, chapter covers, photographs, etc., the actual core text is around half that length, at about 75 pages. We've tried to keep each section concise, but up to date when there are changes in SCOPIC, York Antwerp rules, etc. We don't, in the way some textbooks do, exclude comments on previous versions of forms. We recognise that some people will have cases involving older versions of forms or rules. Hard copies of the textbook are also available as well as the electronic materials, and there is an online interactive sample test, as well as example questions on the website. I'd really encourage people to take the sample test, because we consistently find that those who do score higher marks in the exams. Are there any parts of the textbook or exam that people generally find more difficult? Well, in general, people do very well in Module 7. It's consistently one of the highest scoring modules in the course. But there are some areas where the scores in the exam are less high. Some examples of these would be, firstly, questions on the types of tug and their features. Secondly, SCRs and the process of how they become involved, how they report. Thirdly, the functioning of SCOPIC, for example, how it can be terminated. And finally, salvage awards, when salvage is applicable and how awards are set, the considerations and criteria for the level of the award, and so on. What will I be examined on? As with all the P&IQ modules, the exam questions you will receive will be drawn from the texts itself. The general rule for the whole course is that you will be examined only on the main text. Appendices are only examinable where specifically mentioned, and in Module 7 there are no such appendices. How will this training help me with my job? If you are involved with boats or ships in any way, then those vessels may require salvage, towage or wreck removal, And issues like GA also have a very wide application across the marine industry. So even though some people would consider these areas quite specialist, we think they have a general application across all parts of the marine industry. And what we've tried to do with this module is teach the course as if you are sat in a P&I club receiving direct on-the-job training.